And now today we are going to see about the Capablanca, Carlsbad structure, and there are various structures, pawn structures in chess, and now we are going to see the Carlsbad structure. The Carlsbad structure is nothing but the Queen's Gambit exchange variation, and after the moves like d4, knight f6, c4, e6, and knight c3, d5. Now white goes for the Carlsbad structure after c takes d5, e takes d5, and this is called the Carlsbad structure. And let us first discuss about the plans in the Carlsbad structure. The plans involved in this structure are for white is to the main first plan is primary plan is the minority attack. He has the queen side minority pawns, so with the minority pawns he will always try to attack and create weaknesses on black's queen side. And next plan for white is to put piece pressure, and if at all there are weak pawns on the c file, especially on the c file, the c6 pawn, he would put piece pressure on those pawn, and there is a good outpost for him on c5 for the knight. So the third plan for him to put, I'll show you. So after these logical moves, as you can see, he has put b3, e3, and bishop on g5. Now the next plan for white is to push the, after developing and castling his king, after making all the developing moves like say knight to knight bd7, bishop d3, bishop b7, queen c2, and castles. Now knight f3, rook e8, and castles. So all the pieces have developed, and the main plans here is, you can see, the minority attack and put to piece pressure on the queen side. And the third plan is to move e3, e4, break in the center. Breaking in the center with the e4 push is the next plan. And another plan for white is to put knight on e5. The f3 knight goes to e5, and after going to e5, the f pawn is pushed to f4. So the plan is putting the knight on e5 and pushing f4. And another plan is to attack on the king side. He can also try to attack on the king side after pushing his f pawn. So these are the plans of white. So let us see the plans for black. I'm sorry. So the plans for black here is, so for first he must counter the minority attack. So black must counter white's plans. So for countering his plan, black has the main plan for black is to attack the king which is castled king side. The white king which is castled on the king side, black must attack it. So he can attack either with the pawn who moves, like with this pawn rolling his pawns on the king side, and also attacking with the pieces like lifting the rook and bringing it to the h file, g file, and also bringing the queen to the king side. So like that he has various plan attacking. So the first two plans are attacking with the piece, attacking with the pawn. See, these are the first two plans on the king side. And the next plan is to put b5, b7, push the b7 pawn to b5 to counter the minority attack. And he can also push c6, from c6 to c5. So by pushing to c5, he can actually counter in the center, to break in the center, to undermine the central pawns. So white's plan would have been to push e4. So before white initiates that plan, black can go for c5, undermining white's center. This is the third plan, the fourth plan. And the fifth one is to exchange the light squared bishop. So white's light squared bishop is very strong on the long diagonal, so it must be neutralized. So black must try to exchange it. So these are the plans of black. So we will look into the game. So after knight to f8, now rook b1, these are typical moves for the minority attack. and then now knight to e4, bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, and b4. White initiates the minority attack, and now a6 and a4, bishop to f5, and the knight to e5. Now rook a d8, rook fc1, and now knight g6, and now the minor pieces are exchanged. As you can see, all the minor pieces have been exchanged. Here I forgot to tell you guys, the black player is Karpov, the ex-world champion, and the white player is Alexander. And the crucial thing about this game here is Karpov loses the game. That is what makes this game so special. So Karpov's main idea was here to exchange all the minor pieces and get into a major piece endgame. So after getting, why he planned to exchange all the minor pieces and get into the end game, because he had the pawn majority on the queen side. So his plan was to push his pawn majority and to promote. So he quickly goes to the end game after b5, cb5, ab5, now rook d6, and b takes a6, b takes a6. Now queen to a4, queen d7. Karpov wants to exchange the queen, and now after queen takes d7, rook takes d7. Now rook to c5, rook to a7, and rook to a5. Now king to f8, bringing the king closer, and rook to b6, and rook to a8. And now as you can see, h4. So white also wants to bring his king out. Now king to e7, king to h2, king to d7, king g3, king to c7, and rook b2, and rook b7. So Karpov wants to exchange rooks here. So you must always be careful with the checks, guys. In the end game, you must always be careful with the checks. As you can see, Karpov tried to exchange the rooks with rook b7, but white played the rook c5 check. Now king to b8, no other move. He is forced, and now rook back to a2. So white declines the exchange, and after rook e7, now king to f4, now king to b7, and again king rook b2 check, and king to a7, and rook to c6, attacking the pawn, and now rook to h8, attacking the h4 pawn. Now rook to a2, and now Karpov pushes the pawn so that he gains time. Now he gives the pawn and takes the, and now the intermediate move of king b7 attacking the rook, and after rook to a6, and now rook takes h4 check, and king g3, and rook h5 is, he wants to exchange the rooks, but the check, there is a skewer here. You must be very careful, guys, in the rook end games. The checks, skewers, all this you must be very careful. And after here, but here anyways, Karpov is accurately calculated, but still in the final move there will be a miscalculation by Karpov. Now rook check, rook a6 check, and king to b5. Still the a6 rook is attacked, and after the e7 rook is taken, now Karpov had this on mind. He had this intermediate check, but actually now the king goes to h2. After going to h2, again the rook h5 check. Now the king goes to g1, and he is under the pawn cover, and so there are no more checks. And now the king is forced to take on a6, and now rook takes f7, and Karpov loses his pawn, and the pawn structure is also compromised. So Karpov resigned here. So guys, this was really a very illustrative game. I hope you enjoyed the game, and I wanted to show you the Carlsbad structure and the plans. So I will be showing you other structures in other structures like the Philidor structure, the Capablanca structure, the French advanced structure, and the Caro-Kann structure. So there are a lot of other structures. I will be showing you all that. So thank you all.